Assalamualaikum. Today we will continue with our chapter 3 class 9 biodiversity part 2. So let's begin our lecture. Species are the basic unit of classification. So what is a species? Species is a group of organisms which can interbreed freely among them and produce fertile offspring, but are reproductively isolated from all other such groups in nature. So basically, species are a group of organisms which can interbreed freely among themselves and produce fertile offspring. Each species possesses its own distinct structural, ecological and behavioral characteristics. In the definition of species, we must emphasize in nature because two organisms that are related to two different but closely related species can crossbreed under artificial conditions too. For example, in such unnatural crosses, they produce infertile offspring. For example, a cross between a male donkey and a female horse produces an infertile offspring that is a mule. So something about history of classification system. The earliest known system of classification for organisms came from Greek philosopher Aristotle. He classified all living organisms into two groups, that is Plantae and Animalia. In 705, Abu Usman Umar al-Jihaz described the characteristics of 350 species of animals in his book. He wrote a lot about the life of ants. In 1172, Ibn Rushd, which was famously known as Averroes, translated Aristotle's book De Anemia on the Soul in Arabic. But in the end of the 15th century, many biologists had started work on classification methods. For example, Carus Linnaeus divided nature into three kingdoms: minerals, vegetable and animal. Linnaeus used 5 ranks in classification: class, order, genus, species and variety. Linnaeus is best known for his introduction of the method still used to formulate the scientific name of every species. For example, Andrea Casalpino from 1519 to 1603 AD divided plants into 15 groups and called them genera. John Ray from 1627 to 1705 AD published important work on plant classification, while Augustus Ravenus from 1652 to 1722 AD introduced the taxon of order. Tournefort 1656 to 1708 AD introduced the taxa of class and species. Carus Linnaeus 1707 to 1778 AD grouped species according to similar physical characteristics. This led to the two kingdom classification system. It is the oldest system and classify all organisms into two kingdoms, that is Plantae and Animalia. Kingdom Plantae, as the name suggests, that all organisms that can prepare food from simple inorganic materials and thus can store energy are autotrophs and came under the kingdom of Plantae. While kingdom Animalia, on the other hand, contains dead organisms that cannot synthesize their food and depend on autotrophs or others as heterotrophs. According to this system, bacteria, fungi, algae are included in kingdom Plantae. Some taxonomists found the system unworkable because many unicellular organisms like Euglena have both plant-like presence of chlorophyll and animal-like heterotrophic mode of nutrition in darkness and lack of cell wall characteristics. So there should be a separate kingdom for such organisms. This system also ignores the difference between organisms having prokaryotic and those having eukaryotic cells. So this leads to the need for three kingdom classification system. In 1866, Ernest Haeckel solved the first objection and proposed the third kingdom, that is Protista. To accumulate Euglena-like organisms, he also included bacteria in kingdom Protista. In this system, fungi were still included in the kingdom Plantae. This system does not clear the difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Some biologists disagree about the position of fungi in kingdom Plantae. Fungi resemble plants in many ways but are not autotrophs. They are special form of heterotrophs that get their food by absorption. They do not have cellulose in their cell walls, rather possess chitin, which is the characteristic of animals. So this lead to the need for the 5 kingdom classification system, which was valid up till now. In 1937, E. Chatham suggested the terms of prokaryotic to describe bacteria and eukaryotic to describe animal and plant cells. In 1967, Robert Whittaker introduces the 5 kingdom classification system. This is based upon the levels of cellular organization, that is prokaryotic, unicellular or eukaryotic, and multicellular eukaryotic. The principle of mode of nutrition, that is either photosynthetic, absorption, or ingestion. On the basis of organisms are classified into 5 kingdoms: Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. 1988, Margulis and Schwartz modified the 5 kingdom classification of Whittaker. They considered genetics along with cellular organization and mode of nutrition in classification. They classified the organism into the same 5 kingdoms as proposed by Whittaker. So the main 5 kingdoms remain the same, that is Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. So let's have a deeper look at the 5 kingdoms. Kingdom Monera. It includes prokaryotic organisms. They are made up of prokaryotic cells. Monerians were unicellular, although some types form chains, cluster or colonies of cells. Prokaryotic cells are radically different from eukaryotic cells. Most are heterotrophic, but some perform photosynthesis because they have chlorophyll in their cytoplasm. Within this kingdom, there are 2 different kinds of organisms, that are bacteria and cyanobacteria. While the kingdom Protista, it includes eukaryotic, unicellular, and simple multicellular organisms. There are 3 main types of protists. Algae are unicellular, they are colonial or simple multicellular. They resemble plant cells with cell walls and chlorophyll in chloroplast. Simple multicellular means that they do not have multicellular sex organs and do not form embryos during their life cycles. While protozoans, the second type of protista, resemble animals whose cells lack chlorophyll and cell walls. Some protists are fungi-like. So the kingdom Fungi, it includes eukaryotic, multicellular heterotrophs which are absorptive in their nutritional mode. So kingdom Fungi includes eukaryotic, multicellular heterotrophs that are absorptive in their nutritional mode. For example, mushrooms. Most fungi are decomposers. They live on organic materials, secrete digestive enzymes, and absorb small organic molecules formed by the digestion by enzymes. The next kingdom, that is kingdom Plantae, it includes eukaryotic, multicellular autotrophs. Plants are autotrophic in nutritional mode, make their own food by photosynthesis. They have multicellular sex organs and form embryos during their life cycles. Mosses, ferns, and flowering plants are included in this kingdom. The last kingdom is kingdom Animalia. It includes eukaryotic, multicellular consumers. Animals live most by ingesting food and digesting it within specialized cavities. They lack cell wall and show movement. So these are the 5 kingdoms. We can look at them with the distinguishing characteristics. For example, kingdom Monera की cell type है prokaryotic. Their nuclear envelope is absent in Monera. Cell wall is non-cellulose, that is polysaccharide plus amino acids. Their mode of nutrition is autotroph or heterotrophs. Their multicellularity is absent in them. While in the group Protista, the cell type is eukaryotic, a nuclear envelope is present, and cell wall present in some form, and there are various types. Mode of nutrition is photosynthesis or heterotroph or combination, while the multicellularity is absent in most forms. In the fungi, Plantae and Animalia, the cell type is eukaryotic and nuclear envelope is present in all 3 of them, while the cell wall in fungi is of chitin and that of in Plantae is cellulose or other polysaccharides, while cell wall is absent in animals. Fungi have absorptive or heterotrophic mode of nutrition, while the multicellularity is present in most forms. In Plantae, the mode of nutrition is photosynthesis only, and the multicellularity is present in all forms. In Animalia, the mode of nutrition is ingestion or they are heterotroph, and the multicellularity is present in all forms. While the status of viruses, as we know that viruses are on the borderline of living and non-living things, due to their crystalline nature, they are considered as non-living. While they are acellular, they do not have cellular organization, yet show some characteristics of living organism, that is, they possess either DNA or RNA. Normally encased in a protein coat, they produce only in the living cells, where they cause a number of diseases. They are not considered as organism and thus are not included in the 5 kingdom of classification. Prions and virions are also acellular particles and are also not included in the 5 system of classification. So the next thing, how to name the species in the 5 kingdoms. The system used for this is binomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature is the method of giving scientific names to the living organism. As the word binomial suggests, the scientific name of a species consists of 2 names. The first is the genus name and the second one is of the species name. Swedish biologist Carolus Linnaeus from 1707 to 1778 AD first introduced and adopted the system of binomial nomenclature. His system spread rapidly and became popular, and many of his names are still in use today. The rules that are adopted while suggesting and documenting scientific names are as scientific names are usually printed in italics, such as Homo sapiens. When handwritten, they are underlined. The first term, that is the generic name, always begins with the capital letter, while the species name is never capitalized, even when derived from a proper name. Like in Homo sapiens, H is capital, while the sapiens S is small. The scientific name is generally written in full when it is first used, but when several species from the same genus are being listed, it may then be abbreviated by just using an initial form of genus. For example, Escherichia coli becomes E. coli. So, what are the significance of binomial nomenclature? As we know, the different regions have different names for same organism. For example, the common name of onion in Urdu is pyaz, but in different regions of Pakistan it is also known as ganda or basil or basil. In other country it has other names. So in science it is known with a single name, that is Ilium cepa. In some cases different organisms are called by the same common name. For example, the name of blackbird, which is used for crows and as well as for ravens. Most names have no scientific basis. For example, a fish is a vertebrate animal with fins and gills, but several common names of silverfish, crayfish, jellyfish and starfish does not fit the biological definition of a fish. To avoid all this confusion, organisms are given scientific name by using binomial nomenclature. The value of the system is due to its widespread use and the stability of its name. In binomial nomenclature, every species can be unambiguously identified with just 2 words. Same name can be used all over the world in all languages, avoiding difficulties of translation. For example, the biological name of onion is Ilium cepa, and the common sea starfish name is Asterias rubin, and house crow is Corvus splendens. For example, the biological classification of man is the common name is man, kingdom is Animalia, phylum is Chordata, class is Mammalia, order is Primates, family is Hominid, and genus is Homo, while species is Homo sapiens. Biological classification of frog is common name is frog, kingdom is Animalia, phylum is Chordata, class is Amphibia, order is Selenitia or Anora, family is Ranidae, and species is Rana tegrina. So now let's talk something about the conservation of biodiversity. As we know that during the last century, loss of biodiversity is increasing because of in the modern era, human actions, species and ecosystems are threatened with destruction to an extent rarely seen in Earth history. The species that are no longer lives in an ecosystem is called extinct in that ecosystem. When species of an ecosystem become extinct, the stability of ecosystem is harmed. Biologists found that the global ecosystem could collapse if biodiversity continued to be reduced at the same rate. Many plant and animal species have gone extinct in Pakistan. For example, the endangered and extinct animal species are lion, tiger, Asian cheetah, Indian one-horned rhinoceros, swamp deer, Indian wild ass, haggle and black buck, etc. In an ecosystem, when a species is called extinct, when there is no doubt that the last individual of that species has died in that ecosystem. A species is called endangered when it is at the risk of extinction in near future. More than 260,000 people are added to the world population each day, or more than 180 each minute. Habitat loss is probably the greatest threat to biodiversity on Earth today. So the impact of human being on biodiversity is greater. By 10,000 years ago, there are about 5 million people on Earth. With the advancement in agriculture industry, human population is growing rapidly. Today, around 600 million people live on Earth. To improve the living condition for these 6 million humans, we are imposing serious threats to the survival of biodiversity. The habitat loss, deforestation, overhunting, introduction or removal of species, pollution and climate change are the major causes of species extincts. Among them, the species introduction is 39%, hunting is 23%, and habitual destruction is 36%, while other are 2%. If sea stars are removed from a region in ocean, mussels rapidly increase in number. Large number of mussels prey on small animals and become dangerous for their existence. To raise to produce cash to fruit species, sugar, tobacco, soap, rubber, paper and cloth have stimulated many to get them by using soil and by destroying the forest. So have a look about the deforestation. Deforestation basically means cutting down of trees for the conservation of a forest to a non-forest. The destruction of significant areas of forest have resulted in a degraded environment with reduced biodiversity. The causes and effect of biodiversity deforestation are sometimes there is a slow forest degradation and sometimes there is a sudden catastrophe clear cutting of urban development. Deforestation can be the result of deliberate removal of forest wood for agriculture or urban development. Deforestation affects the amount of water in soil and moisture in atmosphere. When there are no trees to keep soil in place, there are no more chances of soil erosion. Heavy rainfall washes soils in river and essential nutrients will be washed away. Rivers become choked up with mud and silt, which can cause floods. The silted water gets stored in dams and reduces their water storage capacity. Deforestation also contributes to decrease in transpiration, which lessens cloud formation. This ultimately reduces the source of rain. Forests support considerable biodiversity, so the utilization of forest for timber and fuel wood have played a key role in human societies. Today, developed countries continue to utilize timber for building houses and wood pulp for making paper. The forest produce industry is the largest part of economy in developing and developed countries. Short-term economical gains made by conversion of forest to agriculture often leads to loss of long-term income. Forests extract carbohydrates and pollutants from the air, thus contributing to biosphere stability. Forests are also valuable for their aesthetic beauty and tourism attraction. These important steps of forests are also harmed due to deforestation. In Pakistan, deforestation is greatest threat to biodiversity. In the province Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the close canopy of forests are shrinking at approximately 1% per year. Overhunting is another cause of biodiversity deterioration. Overhunting is basically a significant cause of extinction of hundreds of species and endangers among such are whales, ibex, ural, markhor, the national animal of Pakistan. Commercial hunting, both legal or illegal, has its principal threats. The steps that can be taken for the conservation of biodiversity are as conservation of biodiversity has become a global concern. Biologists urge national policy makers to state a set of rules necessary to protect a species. They demand that laws should define species which are threatened by extinction and must be protected. Though rich in biodiversity, Pakistan today also faces threats to its animal and plant species. The greatest concern is the loss of natural habitats. Main cause of this is the loss of rapid human population and the prevailing poverty in rural areas of Pakistan. In addition, low literacy rate is also a reason for failure of conservation measures taken so far. The International Union of the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources (IUCN) and the World Wildlife Fund Pakistan (WWF) Pakistan work in close coordination with Pakistan Ministry of Environment and other government and non-government institutes. The IUCN has prepared the first national red list of the endangered or threatened species. Different environmental works that are being done in Pakistan are National Conservation Strategy, UN Convention or combating desertification, and the third one is Himalayan Jungle Project, conservation of biodiversity of the Suleiman Range, Balochistan, Northern Areas Conservation Project, conservation of migrating birds in Chitral, KPK, conservation of Chilitan, Marhor, and ban on games are the major steps that are taken for the protection of environment. But the endangered species in Pakistan are the Marhor polo sheep, Indus Valley dolphin, and the Hubra bustard. The birds that flies to Pakistan in winter season for former sovereign territories are settled in Cholistan and Third. The decline in its population is due to the hunting by foreigners and destruction of its habitats. So that's all from today. If you like the video, do subscribe for more videos. Thank you. Bye bye.